Look, it's Christmas, and if there's one time of the year when things don't need sugarcoating because we already eaten enough of these, it's right now. It hasn't been very good. I'm not going to say that Eddie Howe's mags, as I always try and allow myself not to, have ruined my Christmas, but they have. We're going to be talking on this video about why things just aren't quite going well at the moment and why some reactions, some being inverted commas, are just a little bit needless and just need to calm down. It's the last word, Newcastle fans, so do us a favour if you're curious and make sure you stick around. Welcome back to Black White Banter, you lovely Newcastle fans. And can I say Merry Christmas? I can't really, can I? I think once Christmas is done for me, to say Merry Christmas to anyone, I'm just like, are you fucking kidding us? It's done. It's over. Get the decorations down, I say. Let's look at 2024. But I hope this weird period that we find ourselves in as I record this video between Christmas and New Year, when we don't know what day it is, we don't know what pair of pants, how many days we've had them on, we haven't showered for days, we haven't been outside for fresh air for days, and we're just slobbing around, eating lots of these, and it just ends up being a massive thing of toffee pennies. And if you're watching this and you like the toffee pennies, I'm questioning you. I am. Newcastle fans though, before I get into anything in this video, do us a little favour. As a late Christmas present or a New Year present, as my nana used to give me, my older brother, drop us a little likey, Lou. That goes a very long way. And if you like my opinion by the end of this video, whack that subscribe. I am back home, that's why the backdrop looks a little bit different. Looks like I'm almost in some sort of seedy strip club with the curtains behind us. I've tried to find a spot to record whilst I spend a bit of extended time with the family and the dog back in my home. But one advantage, if you haven't already noticed, my mum has all of my Newcastle shirts ordered from being a kid all the way through to being older. Lovely, folded, you name it, a nice slide out drawer. And this bad boy is one of my favourites. But I can't believe I'm about to do this. I ruined this shirt with probably the cringiest, most disgusting, embarrassing decision I have ever made. And one of my good friends who I went to matches with, who I sat next to with my season ticket growing up, let me get it. We'd just been relegated. This shirt came out as we were going into the Championship in 2009-2010 season. And I decided, if you want to hit the unsubscribe or never watch one of my videos again after seeing this, that's fine. I decided to get this on the back. The only way is fucking
embarrassment, though, to be honest.
Speechless. You're probably speechless, I'm speechless. I mean, we did get promoted, so if I want to say one thing, I might be a lucky omen, but what the hell was I thinking? But look at this. Adidas, cannot wait to have it back. Long sleeved. Oh, love it. This is one of my classics, and I've got a million more under the drawer. So, enough about my shirt, that's not why I'm on this video. It hasn't been a very good little spell, has it? And every single year I say, I'm not going to let Eddie Howe's mags on Newcastle United in general ruin my Christmas. And for so long under the Mike Ashley reign and generally on Boxing Day, it does get ruined. We've got the worst record in English football history on Boxing Day, and that continued against Nottingham Forest. And if you throw in our away form, if you throw in Luton, there's a lot of questions being asked. But before I get into what I think is going wrong and what could improve to get us out of this awful spell, I'm going to emphasise on those exact words, awful spell. Because there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of voices. The word how is trending on my Twitter every day. And I'll be totally honest with you, what seems to be more popular than how out actually being said is people being angry at that notion. I don't know anyone in the concourses, on away buses, in the bars, in half-time whilst I'm queuing for a pint and discussing the match in the Gallagher, who actually says they want Eddie Howe out. But you go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, and there's a lot of voices. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't go to the matches, you're not allowed an opinion. I'm just making the point that I do not know anyone, and I'd like to think I know a lot of people. And because I interview fans, I speak to probably more Newcastle fans than the average bloke, still does not know one person who wants Eddie Howe to be handed a P45. And the fact that some who might jump on this video and comment how out, as my last video got, if you want to go and have a look, I pinned one of them to the comments, to the top of the comments. I just don't understand. I do not understand. If there is one man in world football who's got some credits in his bank, it is Eddie Howe. Literally, when, it's New Year. Let's just think about this for a second. This is a time when we reflect on 2023. Do you know what my highlights are going to be that I reflect on? Wembley, Trafalgar Square with cans, trips to Paris, trips to Milan, the Market Square in Dortmund with the Frankfurt in Milan mixing with the Germans, Dan Burn powering above everyone to score and outshadow Mbappe at St James's Park in one of the best moments of my life supporting this football club. Do you know what man's responsible for those highlights? What they should be accredited to? Sir Eddie Howe. And if there is one manager in world football who is capable at the age he is, the experience he is, the nature of the man in evolving and improving and being obsessed with the fact that this is his first bump in the road in 2 years of managing this football club. Let's just rewind and think about where he came in a relegation battle. Yes, the new ownership was in when he came in, but there'd been no money spent. We were down at the bottom, and the fact we got Champions League in a year, the fact we have got one of the best home records in all of Europe in a 2-year period. There has been no bumps in 2 years. It's mental. And this is the first time, and some would argue rightly so, that Eddie Howe feels under pressure. And of course, pressure's going to come from only winning, from losing 7 out of 8 matches in all competitions. Of course. I'm not hiding away from that, and the man is not immune from criticism, which I'll get onto in a second. But any talk about this man not being right for Newcastle because we lose matches is ridiculous. And I can guarantee some of the fans who are spouting this absolute shite on social media are the ones who, when we beat Fulham 3-0 just a couple of weeks ago, not a Scooby-Doo being said. Not a single Scooby-Doo, because everything was back to normal. We'd won a match. Let's see whether we can build on this. When we were 1-0 up in the 89th minute at Chelsea, as ugly as that game was in terms of how we played, there will not have been many fans with Fulham 3 days before in mind after we just won, and it looked like we were going to get to another cup semi-final. Was there many fans calling for Eddie Howe then? When we were 1-0 up in the 92nd minute in Paris, one of the hardest games in our Champions League group against some of the biggest players, and we were about to steal the points, were people calling for Howe's head then? Were people still questioning him? I don't think they were. It's such a fickle game we're in, and I'm guilty of it, you're guilty of it, every football fan's guilty of being fickle. But the fact we are calling for a man to lose his job when we've experienced our first bit of adversity with a million fixtures, with European football on the horizon for the first time, and one of the worst injury lists we've ever had, with a style of play of intensity that no other team, well, some teams have in the league, but when you are playing Saturday, Wednesday, a style of play that is only suited to rotating players around, and we haven't been able to do that, is an absolute load of tosh, and that's putting it as politely on this video as I possibly can. So I'm just going to get that one out of my system, and I'll keep getting that out of my system when all these conversations. But that being said, let's jump into my first point of why I think things are going wrong now. Howe is not immune from criticism, and I think Eddie Howe has never had to have a plan B, because why would he? After 2 years of managing this football club, things have gone as rosy can be. Wins against Man United, wins against, you name it, the best home form in the league at one point, 7 wins in a row, cup finals, Champions League qualification. His intense style of 2 banks of 3, midfield and attack, has worked swimmingly. We have been built on a defensive unit because how improved his coaching as a defensive manager. One of the best defences in the league, only matched by champions Man City. Pope, Trippier, Botman, Shea, Burn. Safe as houses. Nothing has really had to change. Now, with success comes a microscope. With success comes a microscope from every journalist, every manager, every player, every pundit and scientists in training grounds, dissecting every little bit of what we do on the pitch to try and counter us. So we are now facing managers who are doing their utmost tactically to outdo how we like to play. And some managers have managed that. Jurgen Klopp managed it in the last 15 minutes when they beat us 2-1. And I could go through a few, but Santo, for Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day, I think he did. I think in the second half he did. We were getting cut open with one pass from them forward. They have the pace in Alanga. Chris Wood, he's never going to do that again in his career. I'm not going to look into too much to how Chris Wood influenced things, because we know he's a very fair play to the guy. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I don't think he will score a hat-trick like that again, particularly not his second goal. It was all too easy for him. But the point I'm trying to make is sometimes this 4-3-3 with how we like to play is not always going to work, and Eddie Howe needs to figure out very quickly how to adapt his formation and adapt his tactical approach during games and very quickly to mix things up. Now, some people, when I put this on my blog, if you want to follow me on social media, you'll be able to read my blog. They were very quick to point out that it's very difficult to change system when you don't have the players with the injuries we have. I disagree. Eddie Howe is a manager who prides himself on having versatile players. That's one of the main qualities he looks for when he signs a player. And the players we have on the pitch, Anthony Gordon can play numerous positions. Bruno can play a little bit further forward or a little bit deeper. Longstaff can play either side of that three, the first midfield three. Joe Willock, and I know he's injured at the moment, he can play a number of roles. Wing, central. Joe Linton has proved he can play on the front. The point I'm trying to make here is we do have a versatile squad. We do. Livramento, as an example, could play a little bit further up the field. Eddie Howe needs to use these players to find a plan B. We need to be harder to beat. And one thing I don't think we've done away from home this season, which is why our away record is shocking, is made the priority being hard to beat. Eddie Howe has decided to stick with the same system of intensity, of pressing. And I keep using the word intensity. I've got no doubt Eddie Howe gets sick of it, but we are. Everyone knows how we play. When we do not play with that high press, we generally don't win football matches. And I just think our tactical approach needs to start changing, whether it's adapting Callum Wilson and Isak a little bit closer together, whether it's going to a flat four in midfield, whether it's going to a back five, which we trialled in America but didn't trial for very long. We need to mix things up, and if there's one man I've got faith will do that, it's Eddie Howe. Now, one thing I will mention on that, we have not had in this last month of 10 games in 30 days any time to train, any time to implement new ideas, any time to try any new tactical set piece routines, you name it. It's been very much Saturday play, Sunday recover, Monday a bit of light training, Tuesday go again. That's what it's been like a lot recently. And Eddie Howe said himself before this Liverpool match, we finally got 3, 4, 5 days to train, to relax, to take things in, to absorb new ideas, and that's going to be very important. So that's my first point. Eddie Howe, as great as he's been, and I've got no doubt he will be able to, because he's already done it since in his time at Newcastle, he needs to be able to adapt and change system when the going gets tough and when the opposition counters us how we like to set up from the first whistle. It needs to start happening, and I'm not seeing it. All Eddie Howe does at the moment for me is changes players and hopes that will ignite us a little bit, whether it's Isak coming onto the left and Gordon over to the right, whether it's Joe Linton coming on or Miley coming on in that midfield. And yes, this will all get easy when players come back, but that's the first point. Now, the second point for me, there has to be question marks over whether the fitness of some of our players at the moment. Like Dan Burns pretty much said in an interview himself that he got rushed back a little bit to help out because we've been so low on bodies. And I wonder, I mean, I'm looking at Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff does not look the same player at the moment. Yes, he's still getting up to speed. I get that. He was out for a little spell. Isak against Everton, Tottenham, Milan, when he came on as a sub, he didn't look right. He didn't. And then against Luton when he came on, he did. He looked sharper. Against Nottingham Forest with his lovely turn for his penalty in the first half in particular, he looked sharper. I am concerned that some of these players, understandably, Eddie Howe, he's a professional guy, knows what he's doing, and he's got a medical team who will advise. But I would not be surprised because we are so low on bodies in a heaped congestion of fixtures that I wouldn't be surprised if he's asked Longstaff to maybe just get back in this squad as fast as possible. Same with Dan Burn. Same with Callum Wilson and Isak, because without any strikers, we are fucked. And I think that's proved. That's so it's proved. And with injuries in mind, Sven Botman, defensively on Boxing Day, we were out of sorts. Worst I've seen at St James's Park since Eddie Howe's been in charge. So uncharacteristic from the Fab Four. Trippier, Botman, Shea, Burn, who was so good for us last season. Yes, you can argue Nick Pope at the back not being there is a factor in that because Dubravka has not looked that safe. But Botman, for me, looked like a player who'd never played with Shea, and he is going to take time to get back up to speed. He was chucked in an intense football match against the Forest team with a bit of bounce about them after the new manager, and he just didn't look right. And I do think that injuries and players coming back from injury as quickly as possible is contributing to them not just looking right. And Sean Longstaff sums that up for me. He's a man, his kilometres speak for themselves. his movement from midfield into the final third in attack and support, and the attack speaks for itself. And we didn't see that against Forest. We really didn't. He looked very lethargic and just not at the races. So that's got to be the second point for me. The third and final point, and it's going to trigger some Newcastle fans, and I've been someone who's been triggered myself, but we cannot shy away from the fact of fatigue. And yes, it's a word I've brushed off a little bit as well. As I just said, we all have. But the more I've been reminded of certain things and I've sat down and I've given it some thought, 10 games in 30 days for any side is a lot. It is. But we cannot whinge. Lots of other teams do it. But not many teams do it who have the playing style that we do. We are a team, and I'm going to use the word again, I may as well make this a drinking game. Every time I say the word intensity, take a drink. We'll all be mortal by the end of this video. But when we play the way we do, covering as many kilometres as we do, pressing the goalkeeper and the defenders the way we do, and building our foundation of our success off that, to do that every Saturday or every Wednesday with no players on the bench to come in is difficult. And I think it's suffered. If you're a team, like teams in the bottom half of the table, some of them, like West Ham, for example, good team, solid team, having a great season, but they surrender possession, and they do hit you on the counter, and they did that to us at the London Stadium. They are not covering naturally as many kilometres in a football match, and mentally, yes, you still have to be switched on, but the way we play is not suited to Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, you name it, the way we play. And I think that's been a massive factor that Eddie Howe has not been able to bring Murphy in for Almiron for the Thursday game, and then Almiron on for Murphy for the Saturday game, and Tonali in for Bruno, and Barnes in for Gordon, and Isaac in for Wilson. The list goes on, but I still think we need to take into consideration the spell that we have come under more recently of 10 matches in 30 days. Not only do we not have any time to train and try new ideas and just take a chill on the training ground and regroup, it's very much a, right, let's get in, bit of set piece work, bit of defensive work, bit of attacking work, couple of games of 8s aside, I've got no doubts about it, and then it's recover, it's rest, it's eat up, it's sleep up, it's hotels, it's flights. And as we move into the new year, that all changes. One game a week again. FA Cup, even that's a weekend if we beat the Mackhams. My God, less said about that right now, the better. Oh, that's another conversation for another day. But if we do get through that age-old meeting with the old enemy, that's going to be played on a Saturday. Things calm down in the new year, but it has to be talked about, the fatigue for us with the injuries we've got. Don't forget, Newcastle fans, we had the squad to deal with these matches. We did. I mean, look what our bench would have looked like against Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day. With Murphy, with Tonali, with Willock, with Joe Linton, with Isaac. It's mental. We've got strength in depth, it's just not available to us. And yes, people will still get in the comments right now and say fatigue is a load of bollocks. Matthew, stick it up your arse. And all I say to that is, I understand it frustrates people to make that any type of excuse in inverted commas, but we are a team where a playing style, the way we have it, and that might go back to how Eddie Howe needs to change things tactically, and he'll be learning from that. It does not allow for us to play in exactly the same way every match, and it doesn't, and I genuinely believe, and I've seen it, there's matches where we haven't played. Luton, we didn't press as hard and we got beat, because it's not, that's our foundation, and it's not there, because I do think there is a bit of legginess in there. So that's my 3 main points, and I could talk, as I always can on these videos, about a million things, why it's not going wrong. All I'm going to ask you Newcastle fans is to keep the faith. Keep the faith. Eddie Howe has done a fantastic job. Eddie Howe is obsessed with improving as a manager, and Eddie Howe knows things are not right at the moment. He knows there's a transfer window on the horizon. He knows players are coming back from injury, and he knows that this group of players are capable of doing some of the things that have allowed us to go to Paris, Wembley, Milan, Dortmund, beat Man United, home and away, you name it, in this amazing roller coaster we've been on. He's got them credits in the bank, so please, just keep the faith. A bump in the road is going to happen. Football teams lose football matches, but do not lose faith in the man in the dugout. Honestly, just let's ride this wave in unity. Let's not go at each other's necks and say why he's not doing this, why he's not doing that. No manager is perfect. But I want to know, Newcastle fans, in the comments, what do you think's been going wrong at the moment? I've only made 3 points there. I could have made 5. Let me know. Drop down below. Let me know if you are keeping the faith. Let me know what your thoughts are going into Liverpool and the fixtures. I'm at home for Christmas still, so there's going to be lots more videos to come. Don't have much else to do apart from pig out on these and burst out of these jeans. I hope you've all had a wonderful Christmas, regardless of the football. It does affect us. It does ruin it to a little bit. But I do genuinely think things are going to be better. Let us know down below. Whack that subscribe if you haven't already. And I shall see you on the next video. And if the only way is up really, really offended you, I'm sorry. All I'm going to say is I was young and naive. No, I'm not even buying that one. It's just horrendous that I even thought to get that on the back of my shirt. Don't know why I shared that. Less said about that, about the better. Keep the faith, Newcastle fans. Away the lads!